After years of strong demand, Calgary's real estate market is finally starting to cool off. Prices are trending down across every sector. We're talking detached, semi-detached, townhomes, and even condos. They're all seeing declines. Inventory is nearly up 80% year over year. Months of supply is pretty much doubled. We're seeing fewer sales, more listings, and a shift in momentum. Now, the thing is, you've probably heard this story before, right? Prices cooling, markets shifting. We're going more into a buyer's market. And instead of just adding to this noise, I just wanted to do something a little different. I'm just here to show you the numbers, lay out what's actually happening, and let you decide what this means for the next month to 6 months or whatever your plans are when it comes to real estate. Real quick though, if we haven't met, my name is Richard, a Canadian real estate agent. I make videos all about real estate, so if that's something you want to stay on top of or maybe you're interested in, hit the like and subscribe button so you don't miss out on the next one. So the first thing I want to get into is the overall residential price. So this is including all property types in the city of Calgary here. And so I've brought up some relevant data that I thought would be interesting just to show you as well as the viewer. We have April, May, and June. So you can kind of see just a trajectory or what's actually going or what's happening over a span of a couple months. So as you can see here, April, there was a decline. May, there was a decline. June, there was a decline. And so what do I think is going to be happening here? Well, as we all can see in the data, prices are most likely going to continue on going downwards. So let's get into more of the nitty gritty here. We got new listings, similar thing. New listings was 4,000 in April, 4,800 in May. June was about 4,200. And so we're kind of seeing basically an increase, as you can see, the year over year. Every year there seems to, or every month there seems to be more new listings hitting the market. Then when we compare it to sales, so it's kind of a good indicator of what's happening here. Basically, we're seeing kind of an influx. May we had a little bit more sales. June seems to be coming down quite a bit, 16% year over year. But overall, when we look at the 3-month window when compared to last year, there's just less sales. So we have more new listings, less sales, and it's kind of contributed to this result here, which is inventory, which when you have both of those combined, it's no brainer that inventory has basically skyrocketed. The crazy part is when we look at April, 115% more from last year, May, almost 100%, and then June still we're at astronomical levels of inventory. And so when we reflected into that first graph we saw about prices, it makes sense that prices are starting to come down. And then the next thing I wanted to touch base here is the months of supply, right? We have April 2.6, May 2.6, and then June kind of shot up a little bit here with basically just over 3 months of supply. And so if you don't know what that means, basically like the current inventory that's on the market, based on how many sales that they're currently having, they would have 3 months of inventory if no new inventory came onto the market. And so as you can see here, again, the year over year data, like we're seeing crazy record inventory and not that many sales, which is resulting in essentially, more months of supply. And so now I want to break into the more specific markets. That was just like generic, overall what's happening. And so this is more detailed for what's happening here. So same thing, detached houses here, April, May, June, the last couple months here, 769, 769, 764. And so we're kind of just hitting that crest of where like prices are starting to come down here. And then even looking at the stats down below here, detached, year over year sales were down 6%. New listings up 19%, which makes sense. Inventory is up 75%. Right, so year over year prices haven't changed yet, but again, do we see prices heading more, I guess, downwards? I would tend to think so. And then moving on to semi-detached, so this is going to be most times your duplexes. You have a property that's attached a little bit, or semi-detached as they call it. And so same kind of thing here. Prices actually went up a bunch in May, which kind of translates back to what we were looking at before. There was basically a slight influx in sales there during the May month, but then now June here again, we're seeing a slight price decline. But then what you see overall here is that prices are slightly up from year over year. It was more the let's go back a slide here, the detached that's starting to decline here. So again, are we at this precipice where like our price is starting to come down here? So the semi-detached here, sales were down 9% year over year, new listings up 17%, Inventory up 87%, and then the year-to-year price is actually up 2%. And so are we at the beginning with semi-detached houses? It kind of seems like that, whereas the detached market, it makes sense, right? You have a more expensive product. Well, less people can afford that more expensive product. Thus, that's going to be the first thing to go. And so moving on to townhomes here, April, May, June, April 457, May 453. Row homes have kind of taken a beating here, actually. 3.1% down. So they're definitely on the decline here. Let's just look at the stats here. Sales are down 20%, so it's really pretty big. New listings up 20%. Inventory is up a ton. Sorry, excuse me. Months of supply up almost 200%. So there's lots of row homes hitting the market right now. And then prices are down 3% year over year. Moving on to condos and apartments. Looking at the graph here, again, these seem to be kind of getting hit pretty hard too. Apartments here going down a little bit. Let's just have a look at the numbers down here. 33% negative in sales. New listings only down, it's down 7%. So that's interesting. So there's actually less listings on the market than last year. Inventory is at 73% more months of supply. So prices are down. Interesting. And so as you can see here, it's very different between segment and segment. And then what I wanted to do is quickly touch on what basically the real estate board has been talking about here. So gains in resale supply mostly impact apartment and row style home prices. So we've kind of seen that in the prices when we broke down the prices again. Inventory levels in June continue to rise both month over month and last year's levels. By end of the month, inventory reached 6,941 units, returning to levels reported in 2021. And so we have lots of inventory, which again reflects what the data is saying prior to the surge in population growth. And so that's another thing. Like even if you look at the stats Canada wide, like interprovincial migration, everybody's moving to the prairies and mostly Alberta. And then you even look at the population growth when it comes to strictly province by province as well. Alberta is the leading person. And so is that going to continue? It might, honestly. So let's just read on here. While sales have remained consistent with long-term trends despite the decline in recent months, higher levels of new listings compared to sales have contributed to inventory gain. Okay. All property types have been reported gains in inventory. Yep. Both row and apartment style homes report inventory levels over 30% higher than long-term levels, while supply for detached and semi-detached homes are only slightly above typical levels. What I noticed is Calgary has been building like quite a few homes, and so supply has improved across rental, resale, and new home markets, allowing for more choices for those considering their housing options, said the chief economist. The additional choice combined with no further declines in lending rates persists uncertainty and concerns of price adjustments is keeping many potential purchasers on the sidelines. Well, yeah, when you look at like how crazy prices have gotten over even the last year or two in Calgary and even in Edmonton, everywhere else is starting to see massive price declines. It's one of those things like the big cities kind of take the hits first, and then when it kind of trickles to, well, let's just say Alberta in this case. And so are we at the starting point of prices to decline? That's just going to be the hard one to figure out here. This is weighing on in home prices, especially in apartments and row style homes. The adjusted benchmark price was $586,000 in June, lower than last month over the past few years. Much of the city-wide decline was driven by apartment and row style homes, which are over 3% lower than last year. Meanwhile, detached prices have remained relatively stable, and semi-detached homes are slightly higher than last year. The steeper price declines for apartment and row style homes are reflective of those segments shifting towards market that favors buyers with nearly 4 months of supply. Meanwhile, conditions are relatively balanced for detached and semi-detached homes. Overall conditions in Calgary have changed, but not enough to erase the significant growth in price that have occurred over the past 4 years. So there you go, 4 years. Prices have been going out of the park, really, when you're talking about when compared to any other province in Canada. And so that will be the thing. Like they say, we're still balanced here, but do we see prices coming down here? Well, I tend to think so. And then the next slide here I wanted to show you is just more information on what each segment is going into. I'm not going to read this, just pause the video, have a look. And then same with this video here is just kind of the graph here, sorry, stats of basically, prices in certain segments of the city. So if you're looking at buying in one of these segments, here's just kind of a quick overview of what's going on here. But ultimately, we've gone over a bunch of data here. And so what does this actually mean for you? So if you're thinking about buying right now or in a couple months from now, I got a few things that I wanted just to bring up here. More listings just equal more choices, right? You have more opportunities, less competition, more time to essentially do your due diligence, right? There's a uncertainty and a confidence in the market that, is kind of going in your favor here, right? People don't know what's going to happen. Sellers are just going to have to be more negotiable, right? Obviously, if it's a hot product and, it's underpriced or under market value, which tends to be a strategy sometimes, you're not going to have too much time with those ones, but prices are trending downwards. And so the question is, can you wait? Can you wait 6 months? Can you wait till wintertime when, seasonally speaking, you can get the house for the best price, in my opinion? And even when looking at the stats or the data there, can you wait? I would probably try and wait if you can. But again, it's just, what do you have going on in your life? Can you wait? Do you have to wait? Are you really in a position where you just need to? Well, that's the decision you have to make. And then it's still important to get pre-approved. Obviously, the last thing you want to be doing is just going around looking at houses. You just can't afford the house, or you get to the, accepted offer, the negotiations, and, you're doing your subject removal. It's like, why? Like, just get that figured out beforehand. You can still put a subject in there, obviously, if you want to protect yourself even more, which I would encourage you to. But just get pre-approved, all right? And then if you're thinking about selling right now or again this year or in the next couple of months, there's a couple things that I would say to you. You do need to price it right from the start, especially now that we're at this cusp of like, our prices going to be teetering downwards. So you just want to be the most priced property in your neighborhood or in your pocket of homes, right? So, and then on top of that, you want to make sure that your home stands out. You want to fix whatever's been broken. You want people to walk in there. It's basically move-in ready. And then just be ready for longer sale times. Right now, properties are taking longer to sell. You look at the apartment sector there, we're at months of inventory at an all-time high. Inventory is climbing, or at least in not the apartment segment, but all the other segments. So just depending on what you're selling, really going to dictate what you should do. And then you need to be flexible on your terms. Like, buyers have the upper hand here in most cases. And so not that you need to bend over backwards, but just be flexible or just be willing to negotiate. And then lastly, you need to know your reason for selling, right? We're coming into a time here where it's going to become a lot more stressful to try and sell your property. So what you want to do is reaffirm why you are selling, because the last thing you want to do is go through this whole gambit of things. You have tons of showings, open houses, people coming and going in your property. You have to clean up, yada, yada, yada. You just want to make sure that you know why you're selling, because when it gets tough, the last thing you want to do is just pull it off the market and go through all this stuff and not sell your property. So we've covered a lot of information in this video, and it looks like prices are going to be trending downwards, in my opinion. I don't know. What do you guys think? Is prices going to come down? They're going to be stagnant? I'd actually love to know what you guys are seeing and what you're thinking out there. And if you need help navigating this market, I'm more than happy to provide an introduction. I don't live in Calgary, full disclosure, but I got great connections out there that I'd be more than happy to help you. And if you don't want to miss out on next month's report, where who knows what could be happening here in the Calgary real estate market, make sure you hit the like and subscribe button so you get notified when I come out with next month's video. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.